welcome to Back Talk. I'm Yelizaveta Federbesser, and today my guest is Adina Glickstein.
Hi.
So nice to see you. Thank you so much for making the time for this. I know we've been in conversation for a moment. I really appreciate it. I thought to actually start straight in. I think it's the best.
Let's get into it.
Let's go. Okay, so when I went into a bit of a rabbit hole, at first I just actually miscalculated the time differences between us, which is like 8 hours or 9.
That's a lot. Well, normally I'm in California, so it would be 9 hours, but I'm at my parents' house for the holidays now, so it's only 8. But it's crazy. Like when I lived in Berlin, trying to call my parents was a nightmare because the time difference is so massive.
Where are you now?
I'm living in California now. I'm in the Bay Area. I just moved in September.
That I have a lot of questions towards about later. But where are you now, like at your parents?
Like right now, yeah. I'm at my parents' place in Colorado just for the holidays.
Oh, okay. Well, so are you from there?
Yeah, I grew up here. I'm in Denver.
I just went into a little bit of a deep dive on your user error article online, and especially because I had 1 extra hour before our recording. I was like, okay, let me read the first ever user error ever, and that's a note from a summer of 2022, which I think is kind of links to everything I would like to discuss further later on. And that there was a note on you having Queen's bunker under the airport of your hometown.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's like a deep cut, but I'm like, Denver, Colorado, excuse me? What's the Queen there?
Yeah, this is like some deep Colorado lore, but there are a lot of conspiracy theories revolving around Denver International Airport, which is true. It's a really cursed space. It used to have these crazy murals of like fascist dictators from all over the world, like sitting around a table, like plotting together, but also like multicultural celebrations and like people growing corn and like farmers. It was like the murals were supposed to represent, I think, like all the good and the evil in the world, but they were really spooky. They got rid of those. There's like a giant blue demon horse with red glowing eyes outside the airport, like a sculpture that apparently in the process of being built, like fell on and killed like multiple architects. And then I guess the British Royal Crown owns a lot of the land around the airport. And there are all these conspiracies about how like when the apocalypse hits, the like president will be evacuated to a secret series of bunkers underneath Denver International Airport. It's a whole rabbit hole. You could spend a lifetime reading people's like cracked theories about it.
Is this the origin story for you being a researcher?
Yeah, in middle school, all the like middle school boys are sitting around the campfire on our, school camp out telling ghost stories about the airport. And I'm like, I must surpass their knowledge. I have to know all the details. Let me go home and research. I don't know. It's just definitely some like spooky lore from the hometown.
That's amazing. Yeah, in introducing you, of course, I shall say that you're a writer, researcher, and editor with a profound interest in so many things. That going like deeper into your writing, I'm like, wow, what hasn't Adina talked about yet? It's a very impressive. You also are referred to as a recovering e-girl, which I... What does it entail, really?
Oh God, I think that started as an inside joke with one of my editors, and it somehow became like the byline that they attributed to me on all my Spike pieces.
Yeah.
But I think of it as having to do with having lived in Berlin for a while and wanting to be part of a scene and having a life that was more conducive to going out and also to like moments of online vanity where the way that I like appeared in public seemed to matter. And then moving back to my hometown in my mid-20s and kind of going like rat mode and not wanting to be seen at all. The kind of great dichotomy between like courting online visibility in a certain way at a time when I thought that it was important for my career or even obligatory, to wanting to be like kind of absent from the public imagination, and how especially like bound up in all these gendered questions of presentation and of like aging. And so I think the joke started as me asking an editor who's also like a close friend, have I aged out of e-girldom? Like, am I too old to be an e-girl? And she was like, bitch, no, you're 27. Like, call me in 10 years. But it kind of became this thing between us where I guess as I kind of navigate some of the questions of being like a relatively early career female writer, especially like in the digital platform age, one of the important debates kind of running in my head is like, to what extent am I obliged to perform a certain kind of public visibility, and how can I make it like a fun performance that I'm undertaking, like not as like labor, but you know, as a kind of like a détournement almost. I love this like situationist idea of like wearing the wig, where if there's something that you like have to do as part of your work, but you want to like resist it or kind of protest it, you like do it perfectly to the letter, but like with a fuck you attitude. And they would call this wearing the wig. Like you perform it so well, but like you and maybe only you know that you're secretly doing it under protest. And that's my e-girldom. So I
love this idea that this is out of the protest, because I'm currently very into the idea of poser and what it means to be a poser. And this really touches upon it, but also harnesses this certain empowerment within it, which I really like. It's a common struggle, to be honest. This need for performance, but also sort of the desire to do so. There is something very enticing in it as well. Even though you do it as a rebellion, it's still fun.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff can be so tempting to take yourself really seriously. And it's like we're stuck in a world full of systems that we didn't choose to be in. So like, why not have fun within them to the extent that we can? But the thing about the poser just made me think really quickly. Do you know Reese Cox?
No.
Okay, he's an amazing artist and musician in Berlin, and he has a band which is also an art project called Poser. Where he's like hired his hottest friends to be the members of the band, basically. And it's all about this question of like image and performance. So let me plug that.
Please, I need not only a plug, but like a direct line of communication with this person. That's super cool. Yeah, Poser's really, well, more on that later, I guess. It's just been brewing for a moment, and I think I've just put in the first part of the review together. So anyhow, let's do the bag TSA.
Oh God, yeah.
That's do you have a bag on these suitcases currently?
No, it's my travel bag, and not to like spoil anything, but I think it's mostly snacks. But yeah.
That's fabulous. Okay.
The large Telfar shopper.
It's gorgeous.
Black. It's really beat up, and I kind of resent that it's not real leather because it's not like fixable.
It's not aging that well.
Yeah.
It aged out a little bit of its e-fandom.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little scraped. It's like starting to show its age.
It's charming.
Yeah. So got the hair clipped to one handle.
I think this is very much current state of affairs with all the handles and the hair clips. Like 5 years ago, it wasn't happening. That's such a sign of time.
Claw clip on the bag handle is like it feels really Gen Z of me. Bagu puffy laptop case.
Okay.
Yeah. The rest is snacks. Sunglasses. These are like my prescription sunglasses, and I was wearing them in California.
That's how I imagine Texas sunglasses. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I was wearing them, and some guy at a coffee shop was like, oh, you know, you're the only person I've ever seen with that old style of Ray-Bans besides my dad.
Like, I think it's a compliment.
I guess. I think it was intended as a compliment. But I was like, hold me and your 80-year-old dad, like boys club. Okay. We have the ever important bag within the bag.
Absolutely. That's a must.
Yeah.
I honestly think there is like a little tray by your bed and a tiny bag within a bag. Those are the pillars of the society. Yeah.
This Like you just take the little bag out of the big bag and put it into whatever other little bag you're using.
Yeah.
So,
and my present for my boyfriend for this New Year's is a tiny bag for his bag. He just doesn't know he needs it.
They
don't
have, because they just put everything in all their different little pockets, and then they're always like losing it. But like,
it's also
girls
so
know
ugly.
about the bag, what's in the bag.
Absolutely. And also overstuffed pockets is such a faux pas. This is an ick. Seriously.
True. It ruins the lines.
Right? It creates ginormous ass and hips. And this is like, really not it.
You can't have a boyfriend who's walking around with like a padded up BBL ass because he keeps his wallet in his back pocket.
But which is also very old fashioned to have a wallet, which is kind of cute.
Yeah, it's true. My man just pays in crypto.
Oh my god. Okay, actually, well, walk me through some of snacks and we return back to the crypto and all other models.
Yeah. So bag within the bag, just really like speed round. Mints, gum, solid perfume, 2 different half-used travel size rolls of Tums. Because we got that hot girl IBS, and then little tiny reporter notebook. This is actually life-changing. I got like a little flippy notepad, like I'm a newspaper reporter in the 1970s, and I use it to take observational notes in like situations where I wouldn't want to have my full ass journal out. It's crucial.
Adina, you are so good at performing and living by it.
That's really good. Like,
that's great.
Some notes on Todd McGowan's Intro to Lacan. Like, you just never know when you're going to have to write down a little bit of knowledge. And
absolutely. Vital.
In the bag. Stick it in a little bag within the bag.
Yes.
So we got that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the snacks. Okay, there are truly like so many snacks that if I went through these all, it would be both annoying and unnecessarily time consuming. So like highlights reel. Okay. Big bag of snacks that I travel with a lot of food because what if I don't have food where I'm going? You know what I mean?
Also Ziploc Nation.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Deeply American.
This is so true.
It's like super American shit going on here. I was like going through TSA and the airport security guy takes out my like, for the viewers or listeners who can't see what I'm holding up right now, takes out like a freezer bag full of like protein bars, and he's like, are you gonna eat these all on the plane? Like, excuse me, first of all, mind your business. Second of all, like, obviously not, but I'm gone for a long time, and what if they haven't invented food yet in the place where I'm going? I don't know. Like, you never know where you're gonna end up. More so, like, also, what if I'm with someone who gets hangry and I can't do anything about it? That would be like my worst nightmare. I'm not even afraid of being hungry myself. I'm afraid that I'll be with someone who's like hungry and then they're mean to me because they're hungry. And what if I could just make the problem go away by handing them like a delicious protein bar?
This is so caring of you.
So
this is really so kind and nice.
No, it's deeply self-serving. It's all in my own interest. But
that's really nice.
So we have the many protein bars that could be yours if you hang out with me.
If we weren't 8 hours apart, 100% love snacks.
We got some, I just discovered Celsius, the energy drink, comes in like powdered form.
This is something I only know by listening to the US podcasts. Like, I have no idea. Celsius doesn't exist. So it's really like you have Fahrenheit and we have Celsius, and this is your Celsius.
Yeah, exactly.
I just need my Fahrenheit. This is my Fahrenheit. Your Celsius is my Fahrenheit. Yes. This is our jet lag conversation highlight.
That would actually be like a genius bit, though. But so like powdered caffeine, basically. It's so dangerous. I've never snorted it, but I'm sure you could.
That was exactly my question.
Yeah.
I can see high schoolers snorting it, during a class.
Yeah,
we were doing it with
lines.
Like tobacco. People were snorting tobacco. That's so nasty.
I can't even imagine. So
right during the class. Crazy.
That's bonkers. That must hurt so badly.
I know, but it was considered like nouvelle vague.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's so moronic. Last snack show and tell, then we can move on, is I got these cookies at the convenience store in Korea. And I'm like saving the last two because I'm so obsessed with them.
They're very like Louis Vuitton.
Oh yeah. They're so delicious. I used Google Lens to translate the packaging.
Wow.
And then I did a bunch
I love technology.
It literally translates to mini honey medicine corn cookie, but what they're called is yakgwa. Okay. And they're like deep fried cookies soaked in like a honey ginger syrup. Yeah. And that's
Thank you for sharing your bag with me. Appreciate it. It really fuels my curiosity. I know that we first originally wanted to talk about the link between AI and therapy, which I still want to touch upon. But now I think I expanded a little bit the field of the scope a little bit. And I actually also noticed that in your first note, the user error, you reference CCRU. I was wondering, could you please tell me a little bit more about your relationship with this philosophical genre, subgroup, secret community?
Yeah, absolutely. So for listeners unaware, the CCRU, or the Cybernetic Culture Research Unit, was like a kind of para-academic research group coming out of Warwick University in the UK in the 90s. And they were working on philosophy and technology and philosophy of technology from a bunch of different angles, but also like occult stuff. Eventually, they became kind of less and less affiliated with the university, and they moved into an apartment. Like, accounts differ about whether it was in fact actually Aleister Crowley's apartment or if it was just an apartment in his hometown of Leamington Spa. But they moved into an apartment that was like, it had some Aleister Crowley energy going on, and they started doing like alphanumeric Kabbalah and talking about conjuring demons and like time travel lemurs from the future. And it kind of like went off the rails, and then people scattered in a bunch of different directions. But it's had a lot of like philosophical afterlives, including in some movements that have like had more or less traction in academia, like accelerationism is kind of the big one, but also like object-oriented ontology was sort of an offshoot. And yeah, it was like really formative for a lot of different contemporary philosophical groups and ideas that were interesting to me, I think, starting around the time when I was in college. I studied abroad when I was like 19, 20 in the UK. And so I did a term at Goldsmiths in London. And I like got really into jungle music, and I was going to like Code 9 parties at oh my god, Corsica Studios. Like, really, the post CCRU music scene was kind of what first drew me in. And then
there was a music scene connected to it?
Yeah, oh totally. Yeah. So a lot of like jungle, drum and bass, like Steve Goodman, who was one of the original sort of members, is now DJ Code 9. And he's like the through line between the philosophical stuff and the musical stuff. And he writes a lot of really amazing theory. So
wow, I love jungle. I didn't know.
This is like a huge one. Yeah. And
well, that's when they say that the dance floor is political.
No, literally, like Kojo Eshan is also, I think, one of the big through lines between the like philosophy side and the music side.
Wow.
And
I don't know who that is.
He's like Afrofuturist post CCRU homie. Well, after we're done, log off and pirate a PDF of his book More Brilliant Than the Sun.
Okay. I have thank you. I love informative podcasts. I have so many notes.
This is good. Yeah, I love, you got to give people something to like keep chewing on after. It's like party favors.
Yes. Also to that note, so there was London, there was jungle music, there was dancing, and then you're in Berlin, in Berghain, interested in crypto, and it's 2020s. What is this, what sort of fueled your direction towards technology? And like, actually, if I trace it further, now you're living in Silicon Valley, which is the money futurism capital of capitalism. How is your sort of research and artistic writing journey connected you through these dots? capitalism money circles and the obscure.
Yeah, like obscure futures of money. And I think also like alternative network structures have kind of been like a through line. And then like tech criticism, but not from the background of being like a tech person. These have all been kind of emergent threads. Also, probably since my work in university, my academic background is actually in film studies. I was really into like 90s and early 2000s video art that was kind of critical of certain like emerging structures of the digital turn. So I wrote my undergrad thesis about the German filmmaker and video artist Harun Faraki. I was interested in some of his work about like the representation of labor in cinema, or the way that labor is like hidden from cinema. I was doing a lot of like Marxist, like post May 68 kind of film studies stuff. And thinking about labor was like my inroads to thinking about political economy. But then I was also interning in the art world. I was like interning at a magazine, and I had a really short-lived stint of working for a gallery, and I like absolutely hated it. And I think that one of my frustrations was the way that money was so clearly everywhere around me in the New York art world, but like it was not talked about, and it was so taboo. And I actually think that there's like something really intellectually interesting, or like, I don't know, like markets are so interesting to me, not because I like believe in free markets as a social good, but just because like the market as a medium has a lot of like possibility and intrigue to it, and it can be like manipulated, and like mechanism design is so fascinating. And this is like a whole area of like artistic possibility that I think until very recently the left was like not interested in touching on, because like caring about markets without any kind of positive or negative valence was just seen as like that's for like the anarcho-capitalists. And I think the thing that interested me about the rise of crypto art was like obviously not NFTs, because gross, but it was rather like the people who were thinking more critically about like markets as a designable space, or like as an artistic medium. And that this was one of the first like contemporary art movements that took the market as like a component of the artwork itself seriously. So I got really excited about that. I was also just surrounded by a lot of crypto optimists, because by the time that I moved to Berlin, I had a handful of friends who were 10, 15 years older than me. Some of whom came from art backgrounds, some of whom had like made their way into the art world after like retiring early from their careers in tech, but a lot of whom had like basically made their like life's fortunes in the first wave of Web3 startups. And so there's a lot of optimism floating around at that time. And I was like, wow, this is such an amazing like path to security. And like my friends have built things that helped the world using crypto. So obviously Web3 is the future. And that optimism has, you know, faltered since then. But it was an exciting moment. It felt like there was a lot of possibility.
That's true. It's been also so fast. It's just been 3 years. And look at us now discussing AI bubbles over Google Meet.
It's crazy the way that the pendulum just like swings back and forth so fast and so dramatically. There's kind of like just the scale of like financial possibility and then like devastation also that happens when that pendulum swings. I think it's like hard to get your head around.
I think it's sort of poignant that it's exactly within the artistic circles, markets became seen as the space for interpretation and like a system that can be a metaphor of sorts, because I don't think there is any other social circle where people would see it as such. It's still sort of very much connected to the reality and materiality of the everyday, which is actually, I think, ties a bit into, I would like to talk to you about. You sent me your work on the large language models, and that's something you're researching currently. And in general, as I understand, your current focus is a lot about the language and its future, a little bit forecasting what it would be in the future when we appropriate operationalization of large language models into our life world, as you call it. There is also this duality of like, is there emotion within those large language models? And it's sort of a little bit what you're writing about in your shrink pod, I believe. Sort of looking at those ginormous systems that operate our world and sort of anthropomorphizing them in order to relate. Yeah, how's it been in Silicon Valley?
It's so crazy living there. So
one last bit about Silicon Valley is that you just shared in the billboard. It's a black billboard photograph with some sort of like NPM, MIAI sort of, and it's just like a ginormous advertisement billboard somewhere in San Francisco. It looks absolutely bizarre. I stared at this photograph for like 5 minutes and I was like, this cannot be the real world. Who am I talking to? Losing the language of billboards and advertisement feels very threatening to me, perhaps even more than losing the language of something else, because I'm so reliant on this.
But it's
advertisement world is like a cultural.
It's completely bonkers. Boost. And it's like, it's been kind of like in the Twitter discourse. That's like the billboards in San Francisco are out of control. But even before I saw that, the day that I moved there, like I was like driving with my dad in our rental car and we both were like looking out the window, like, what is happening here? Like none of these billboards could exist anywhere else. It's totally unclear what they're advertising. And this, so kind of going back to the CCRU, when I was first developing this idea around the paper that I shared with you, which is like an academic paper that I've been working on about large language models, one of the things that I was thinking about was this like cultural resurgence of interest in Nick Land, which I've written about for Spike. He was like one of the members of the CCRU who sort of veered to the right and has since come up with like right-wing branch of accelerationism that became part of like dark enlightenment online blog philosophy. So, but his whole thing about like alphanumeric Kabbalah, which was also like the CCRU shared that, but he still seems to really believe in like there's something like demonic about the mathematization of language. And this was like what made me start thinking about large language models and like, what does it mean for the human life world to make language calculable? What are the implications of assigning like numerical values to human language and words? And like, that's gematria. That is like alphanumeric Kabbalah, which was like the occult practice of the CCRU in a sense.
Wow. I absolutely love, there is a quote you wrote, speaking is at best a little scary. That's how you know you're alive. Which is what we're currently doing, recording a podcast instead of texting or something. I think, breaking the matrix.
Yeah, it is. I was really nervous for this. Like, I always get a little flustered before podcasts or before talking in public in any context. Like, but also before like talking to people in a non-recorded way, just like having an interaction. Like, social anxiety is real, and I also think that's how you know you're living. You wouldn't want a life without that.
Also, there are different modes of how you can present yourself within this interaction, like even approach the conversation and roles you take within it. It's that's a lot. And that's also how you know you're alive. But what I was like raising my hand about Nick Land, I thought that was really funny because he has also came up with an idea of HYPERSTITIONS, which is very much like wishful thinking before Christmas, and this is our Christmas special. So, like what? And then I also found this fantastic note from Elizabeth Holmes in one of your user errors, where she's manifesting, this is a handwritten account of Elizabeth Holmes' daily routine and affirmations. And the way she talks to herself and affirms herself is literally how you would prompt a chat to talk to you in the voice of somebody. So, when you ask a chat, talk to me as if you're a very knowledgeable astrology guru, blah, 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 blah. She's talking to herself as if she's sort of like programming herself sort of in the same way, especially when there's a quote, all about business, all caps. I am not impulsive. I do not react. I am always proactive. I know the outcome of every something. I do not hesitate, which is like completely absurd. But I was like, it feels like the world of Silicon Valley was appropriating this language model way before we even stumbled upon it in our life world. Because this for me feels very much like a precursor of this kind of communication, which is not real. You cannot talk like this. This is so zero emotion, which she also says that she is calm, direct, pointed, and non-emotional.
Yeah.
She's crazy, but
She
that's
is.
another conversation.
She's so crazy, but I think that you're totally right to pick up on that. I've joked for a long time that hyperstition is just the law of attraction for straight men.
True.
But like there really is there is something parallel between, I think now it's really like gone off the rails as like a TikTok thing, like, you know, manifest your dream life by saying affirmations in the mirror, and like here are the prompts that you can use with ChatGPT to like hone in on the affirmations that'll like turbocharge your magnetism.
Here is your morning journaling prompts.
Yeah, exactly. And like the kind of this idea of hyperstition as a way of like narratively grafting something imagined into real existence, or believing that the future is already set and you just like call it back into the present by writing it. These are similar ideas in a certain way.
Yeah, writing themselves into existence. That's also something about nomogram. Yeah. That's crazy that this CCRU is honestly a through line in your own biography somehow. It's a spooky one, but it's very hyperstition coded.
Yeah, well, it goes even deeper. I think all of this was like fate for me. Goes even deeper because part of my like the intrigue when I first started to learn about the CCRU was that I had grown up around a lot of study of Kabbalah because my mom practiced Kabbalah. She like studied it throughout my childhood. And I thought it was just like a lame mom thing because I was,
for me, that's like Madonna and a red thingy on her wrist. I thought it's cool.
Yeah. I think it's so cool. And it's, a field of study that I've grown into learning more about. And one of my like greatest teachers, who's like a yoga teacher and a mentor and a super important figure for me, also studies and writes a lot about Kabbalah. So it's become like a deeper field, but I grew up around a lot of it. So when I learned that it had been sort of misappropriated by this like cracked like theory philosophy rave crew, I was like, wow, my mom was actually really cool.
Can you give me a little like intro into Kabbalah main point of view?
No. It's a lot. It's like so much. It's because it's the sort of entire corpus of like spiritual texts from the Talmudic tradition, or I don't even know if it's part of the Talmud, but from like the Jewish spiritual perspective. And I grew up like American Reform Jewish, so like not super religious, but with a lot of this like Kabbalistic spirituality sort of ambiently like around through my mom and through her friends. But there's a really beautiful, I can give you like the origin of the universe story from the Kabbalah. Love because that, I think please. It's really beautiful. Yes. It's that there were like two perfect vessels at the beginning of the world, and God had to withdraw from the world in order to create the world. And when God withdrew, there was just kind of from nowhere, from the void, like this amazing emanation of light. And the brightness of the light shattered the vessels. And so the universe begins with God's withdrawal and with a shattering, but also like with the greatest light imaginable. And like from that became like the energy of creation. And I think I probably told that kind of incorrectly, or I left a lot of details out. But these are the things that just like from off the dome, like these are aspects of the origin narrative that really resonate with me, because like the universe was born from shattering and from what seems to be the withdrawal of God, like the, you know, the absence of holiness. But actually it's like the greatest presencing of the holy that could be imaginable, which is the creation of the universe.
That's actually where we go back into the the collective subconscious and ideas of Jung and archetypes and the quantum. That's a perfect segue, actually. The absence of and the immateriality of the grand power that is present and creates everything, but it cannot be explicitly seen, which is a very non-Newtonian quantum entity that guides the creation. It's also very much godlike. It's also very much collective subconsciousness. It's also very much talking to AI, considering it to be a shrink. Preparing to the call, I was also considering talking with you about the characters that arise within this projected communication with AI as your shrink. In the essay, you ask sort of doctors and experts to reflect on this idea of embodiment and sort of materiality of your interlocutor and its importance. Sort of where we are talking about speaking is at least and at best a little bit scary. That's how you know you're alive, because you need to actually speak something out loud instead of typing, and also see the reaction of a person in order to fully process what it is you're saying. So what do you think in terms of this like reactional interaction and information of the language that then occurs? What can we take from that for the future of your research with large language models and how they will prompt life world for us?
Yeah, totally. So
that's a big question, I think. Break it down as much as you want.
No, I'll do my best. So this notion about like the embodied presence of the analyst is what makes speech so implicating. It's what makes it feel like scary to talk, is that you're both like two humans sitting in a room, and that's charged, and it's really like terrifying to speak freely. And by a lot of accounts, like by the time you can actually free associate, or when you really feel licensed to say everything, that's when you end your analysis, because like you've done it. Congrats, you got there. And it's like really, it's quite a challenge. And so I was talking with another iconic Elisabetta Schneiderman, who's a curator and a psychoanalyst in training. And she told me this like banger line that I'm going to misquote, I think. But it was about how like typing and text don't perform and implicate the way that like spoken language does. And this is part of the interaction with like the physical analyst that you will never have when you're like writing to a chatbot. There is something more static about like, you know, written text or like a computer interface than like speaking out loud in real time in a room with like a living human. Another part of that, which one of the other practitioners who I talked to surfaced that took it even further, was like, when you're talking to your like actual analysts, like you have to confront on some level that like one day they're going to die. And that's part of the interaction you're having with them, is like, you're both mortal.
Mm-hmm.
And that dimension just like isn't there when you're like, hey, chat, like make my neuroses go away. But this paper that I sent you that I've been working on about large language models is actually, I think of it as kind of contrary to some of what Elisabetta and I were talking about, in that my research lately has been focused on unearthing or resurfacing some of the contingency or indeterminacy that still exists within like the generation of text by large language models. I think there's a sort of knee-jerk impulse to see AI generated language as especially like static or probabilistic, like because it feels really flat to read it, for one thing. And I also think like we don't really know how neural networks work. And like a lot of people imagine that the calculation of language looks just like, you know, good old-fashioned AI, like earlier models where it really was basically just like a Markov chain, like predictively determining what letters or words would come next. And a lot of the critiques of AI-generated language, I think, traffic really heavily in this idea of like predictive language is too deterministic. But the way that LLMs work is using this process called tokenization, which is like basically how they assign like numerical coordinates to different like sub pieces of words in order to be able to like make language make sense within the context of a neural network. And tokenization is like really indeterminate. The same string of letters or string of words might be tokenized multiple different ways within one corpus of text. And like there are multiple chains of text being worked on at once. So there's a lot more. I think the point that I'm kind of making there is like the language produced by LLMs, or the way that LLMs process language, is like less deterministic maybe than earlier forms of symbolic, like natural
100%.
language processing. And maybe
Yeah.
some of this contingency that exists in, I mean, not in the same way, but maybe some of the same features, like the contingency and the possibility and the implication of being like a live speaking subject talking to an analyst could also exist in like natural language processing and in machines. But I don't know if I totally believe it yet. It's just like an idea that I'm working with.
I have a feeling that perhaps there is definitely a seed of randomization in this in the process of tokenization. Maybe not a seed, but it allows for sort of ex-promptu ideation. But I think the question would still remain, is randomization the ultimate unknown? Because I would personally say that random is not necessarily the unknown. People would argue that random doesn't exist. Big Bang Theory. I'm rewatching that now.
Yeah. I don't want to get too into the weeds here because like I actually don't know on like a deep technical level how this all works. But I think that beyond, it's not just the randomization, but actually like as an LLM is like being pre-trained and the tokenizer is like basically breaking down a corpus of text into like subword strings, because multiple are happening at once and they're also like context situated. There's something more than just randomness. There is like a kind of contingency where the number that is assigned to a string of text, so the token, also relies on like other tokens at different positions sort of temporally within the string of text. And there's something like hyperstitional about that to me too. Like the way that something is written in the present depends on also like a calculation of the future. I'm really reaching here, and I wish that my comprehension of the underlying engineering was like 10% better, because I think that I could articulate it a lot more compellingly if I had that.
But makes total sense that even in tokenization of the text within the like LLM processing, there is a lot of contingency based on its prediction of the future.
Yeah.
Right?
That's yeah, like saying. Yeah, I think that was it. And like the upshot was like it's not just randomness.
Yeah, of course. It's not just it sort of predicts something for the future. But yeah, future prediction is also not like an emotional response. It's like anxiety lives in the future, depression lives in the past. What about depression of LLM models?
Yeah.
Also, before calling with you, I had this like sudden realization that when I was a kid and I heard about Silicon Valley, I thought that Silicon Valley was a place where all Hollywood celebrities would go for their plastic surgeon appointments. And oh my God, how wrong I was.
That's me. I'm a valley girl. I'm living in the valley of fake boobs.
Literally just up north. Yeah. Well, I really liked that vibe coding is not really aura harvesting, and I was and maybe that's a great end for this conversation. Very insightful. Adina, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun to chat with you.
We are so back with a special postscriptum about Adina's trip to Korea. Please. This is a Christmas special.
And we were winding down. We thought we covered everything we had to talk about. And then I was like, oh, I'm so sorry for being a nightmare to schedule with. I had to cancel our original recording date because I got offered a round trip to Seoul, South Korea on like a week's notice to see Bianca Sensori's new venture into performance art.
And you know what? To this I say that your e-girl career really paid off. If all this online performance was for this trip, I think it's just totally worth it.
I'm so with you. Honestly, one of the takeaways for me is like, I want to work more in fashion. I love writing about art. I love writing about tech, but like the PR people who reach out to me from like AI companies are not offering me round trip like business class flights to Korea. Like,
no
let's
way.
do more
Kanye
work.
Kanye is really like flipping it. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sick.
Yeezy like
what wouldn't you do for love? Flashing lights. Mm-hmm. So
dude,
Biopop.
I love Bianca.
You love
Biopop. I have only positive things to say about Bianca. I think that she gets a lot of shit. I think there's more intellectual meat on the bone to what she's trying to do than maybe she's allowed to let on or able to let on. And I also think more than people want to see. So there is some kind of like the fact that it was called Biopop to me was really telling because I think she's really Warholian. She knows that she's doing more than meets the eye, and she's doing it kind of cannily in a way that will travel and that will create like mass cultural appeal or like mass cultural disdain, whatever, but that will like speak to the masses. But that also like has more than resides at the surface.
Also curious, what is your relationship towards the whole Kardashian media capital franchise world? I don't know how to call it. The lore.
Yeah, I know. I never got super into it.
Oh.
I've seen Keeping Up. Like I think Kim K is like cool. I respect her. Similar to Bianca, I think that she is like smarter than she is allowed to come across as. And there is a kind of genius at work in her like creation of the empire that she's built.
For sure. And I think what you were saying in the beginning about Bianca's performance, like having more allure than it shows off, is very much the same sort of mechanics that Kim perpetuates within everything she does. Sort of like harnessing the how we call it, clickbait information in order to sort of cover as much ground. So whatever she's doing is not actually what she's doing, but it's like connected to a trillion other things that she's promoting or denouncing, or this is sort of like media architecture within everything she's doing, which in the sense is very, yeah, I mean, this is so feminine and gorgeous and like carrier bag coded that I'm just absolutely obsessed with. For me, all of this new, like I would call it bag pop. That's what I would love to write about. That idea of like the new female pop star who's like orchestrating chaos without hiding it necessarily, because I think the biggest point of friction here is like to stop hiding the chaos. That's like the most exciting part. That's changing. And I think that's the coolest. I'm a bit like, what was the press release specifically? Because it's just her in red latex and other women in beige latex wearing her masks, and she's just cooking something and then sits and eats it. And other women are tables and chairs for her.
The press release was very cryptic.
No shit.
Yeah. And it was something about like, domesticity as like the site for the creation of rituals and offerings. And there's some line in there about how like the body is the original architecture, like the body of the mother implicitly is like the original architecture that we each inhabit. And that really got me thinking. Yes. Like, but also, and it talks about like the womb as the matrix. And this is all like Sadie Plant shit. This is all Bracha Ettinger shit. I don't know if I'm not trying to say that Bianca is like reading those things. Maybe she is. I don't know. But it's right there.
Do you think she wants to be a mother? It must be hard to be a stepmom for so many kids at such a young age.
I can't even imagine. But
Poor Bianca.
I feel like the performance, like it would be really easy to read this performance as a pregnancy announcement. I'm not saying that's what it was, but there were a lot of details in the press release and sort of like coded winks and nods in the performance itself that I think if you're looking for them, like to me, they were saying like a birth. There was something really birthy about it. Not least of all was the fact that when the furniture was presented in the performance, there is like a double in the nude latex, like lowered from the ceiling, kind of spread eagle on one of these chairs, which is like this Alan Jones / Anna Udenberg looking kind of like quasi technological, like quasi sexual piece of furniture. But it's also really like medical looking in nature. That's one of the details about the furniture that people are sort of glossing over is they're made of like medical equipment. And it looked really gynecological to me. So it's like this woman is like lowered from the ceiling in like the giving birth position. And maybe it's a metaphorical birth of like Bianca's career as an artist or something. But there was something really birthy going on.
For me, she looked like a chandelier. It's also like I know the girl who was the chandelier. So I know exactly what you're talking about. I didn't think about it as birthy, but also thinking about like, I think when I had a call with Alex, we were also talking about this perpetual girl reinvention and iterationism and sort of retitling failure as iteration and sort of having this death and birth cycle so short and so synced that you're constantly like birthing, which in a sense very much like old pop personae where like Madonna had to reinvent herself every time, but in a sense now we are also like not skipping over the moment of death and reinvention. It's like bread summer is never over. We're like perpetually in the death of the bread summer forever.
Yeah, like that really sounds like hell.
That is a
deepest circle of hell. Perpetual undying rat.
This is very Grinch. Yeah.
Okay. Literally Christmas special.
Yeah, Chartreuse all the way.